very clearly that you're nobody, you're property, you're a slave. That the systems, the legal system, the judicial system, all types of systems that are functioning in America today was set up long before you got here. Because we brought you over to make money, to keep what we got going. These avaricious, greedy businessmen to keep what we've got going on. And Dred Scott couldn't understand this. There was a big rebuttal. And at that time, Judge Taney made a statement that has become famous. And that statement, maybe not in the same words, but through actions and through social practice, is being manifested down at the new Reichstag building at Jackson and Dearborn. It's being manifested through Judge Hoffman by saying that the same thing that Judge Taney said in 1857, when he told Dred Scott that a black man in America has no rights which a white man is bound to respect. And that's the same thing that Judge Hoffman is telling our chairman every day. And we understand, a lot of people have hangups with the party because the party talks about a class struggle. And the people that have those hangups are opportunists and cowards and individualists and everything that's anything but revolutionary. And they use these things as an excuse to justify and to alibi and to bonify their lack of participation in the real revolutionary struggle. So they say, well, I can't dig Panther Party because the Panthers, they are engrossed with dealing with oppressor country radicals or white people or hunkies or what have you. They say these are some of the excuses that I use to negate really why I am not in the class struggle. We got a lot of answers for those people. First of all, we say primarily that the priority of this struggle is class, that Marx and Lenin and Che Guevara and Mao Zedong and everybody else that has ever said or knew or practiced anything about revolution always said that revolution is a class struggle. It was one class, the oppressed, the oppressor, and it's got to be a universal fact. Those that don't admit to that are those that don't want to get involved in a revolution because they know that as long as they're dealing with the race thing, they'll never be involved in a revolution. They can talk about numbers. They can hang you up in many, many ways. But as soon as you start talking about class, then you got to start talking about some guns. And that's what the party had to do. When the party started to talk about class struggle, we found that we had to start talking about some guns. If we never negated the fact that there was racism in America, but we said that when the byproduct, what comes off of racism, that capitalism comes first and next is racism. That when they brought slaves over here, it was to make money. Sorry, I got ahead of myself here. Where is it? Sorry, guys. There we go. Okay. It was to make money. So first the idea came that we want to make money. Then the slaves came in order to make that money. That means that capitalism had to, through historical fact, that means that capitalism had to, through historical fact, racism had to come from capitalism. It had to be capitalism first, and racism was a byproduct of that. Anybody that doesn't admit that is showing through their non-admittance, through their non-participation in the struggle, that all they are people who failed to make a commitment. And the only thing that they have going for them is the education that they receive in these institutions. Education enough to teach them some alibis and teach them that you've got to be black and you've got to change your name. And that's crazy. The Minister of Education of the party, Raymond Masai Hewitt, and Chief of Staff, David Hilliard, just got back from Africa visiting Eldridge Cleaver. And they said these people over there never will be wearing that type of garb that some of these Africanized fools over here wear. They're wearing rags, or either they're wearing nothing. And if you want to dress like some African people, then you want to dress like the Angolans or the people in Mozambique. These are the people that are doing something. You need to dress like the people that are in liberation struggles. But no, you don't want to get that Africanized. Because as soon as you have to dress like somebody from Angola or Mozambique, and after you put on whatever you put on, and it could be anything from rags to something from Saks Fifth Avenue, you got to put on some bandoliers and some AR-15s and some 38s. and you got to put on some Smith and Wessons and some Colt 45s because that's what they're wearing in Mozambique. And any person running around telling you that when your hair's long and you got a dashiki on and you got boo-boos and all these sandals and all this type of action, then you're a revolutionary. And anybody that doesn't look like you, he's not that man, has to be out of his mind. Because we know that political power doesn't flow from the sleeve of a dashiki. We know that political power flows from the barrel of a gun. And that's true. It has to be true. We know that in order to be able to talk about power, that what you've got to be able to talk about is the ability to control and define phenomena and make it act in a desired manner. That means that if you can't control and define phenomena and make it act in a desired manner, then you don't even have any dealings with power. You don't know, and you probably never will know what power is. And we know what power is. We know what's doing harm to the people. That's the enemy. And everybody wants to talk about the pork chops. We'll tell you in a minute. The pigs don't want you to get black. They want you to get no blacks. They don't want you to get no black studies programs. They don't want you to wear dashikis. They don't want you to learn about the motherland and what roots to eat off the ground. They don't want that because as soon as you get that, as soon as you go back to 11th century culture, you'll be all right. Check the people who went back to 11th century culture. Check the people that are wearing dashikis and boo-boos and think that that's going to free them. Sorry about that. Okay. Check all of these people. Find out where they're located. Find out the addresses of their office. Write them a letter and ask them if in the last year, how many times their office has been attacked. And then write any Black Panther party, anywhere in the United States of America, anywhere in Babylon, and ask them how many times the pigs have attacked them. Then when you get your estimation of both of them, then you figure out what the pigs don't like. That's when you figure out what they don't like. We've been attacked 3 times since June. We know what pigs don't like. We've got people run out of the country by the hundreds. We know what pigs don't like. Our Minister of Defense is in jail. Our chairman is in jail. Our Minister of Information is in exile. Our treasurer, the first member of the party, is dead. The Deputy Minister of Defense and the Deputy Minister of Information, Bunchy L. Prentice, Bunchy Carter, and John Huggins from Southern California, murdered by some pork chops, talking about a BSU program. We know what they don't like. We said nobody would shoot a panther but a pig because panthers don't pose a threat to anybody but pigs. And if people tell you that panthers pose threats, then ask them what kind of sense it would make, unless it's to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to feed somebody's son, and then at 3 o'clock that afternoon, shoot him, save a meal. We don't need to do that. What sense does it make for us to open up a free health clinic where their only prerequisite that you got to have to receive a free medical aid is the prerequisite that you be sick? And we've got students who are jiving themselves and running around playing, talking about they're doing something for the struggle. And I want to know, what more could you do? And you all people, and all you people come from Chicago. People talking about the party co-opted by white folks. That's what that mini fascist Stokely Carmichael said. He's nothing but a jackanapes as far as I'm concerned. He's a jackanapes because I've been knowing him for years, and that's all he could be. If he could go around murder mouthing the Black Panther Party. If we're co-opted by white people, then check the locations of our offices. Our breakfast program, our free health clinic is opening up probably this Sunday at 16th and Springfield. No, does everybody know where 16th and Springfield is at? That's not in Winteca. You understand? That's not in DeKalb. That's in Babylon. That's in the heart of Babylon, brothers and sisters. And that free health clinic was put there because we know where the problem is at. We know that Black people are most oppressed. And if we didn't know that, then why the hell would we be running around talking about the Black liberation struggle? It has to be the vanguard for all liberation struggles. If there's ever going to be a liberation in the mother country, ever going to be any liberation in the colony, then we got to be liberated by the leadership of the Black Panther Party and the Black liberation struggle. We don't negate that fact. We're not hung up in anybody that anybody's not a Panther. We don't want to get you thinking that, because we can dig Fred. I mean, Everett. We can dig him, but we can't dig Ron Karanga and Leroy Jones. We can't dig that. We can't see any social practice on the part of them brothers. We know that they both have names longer than my arm, and both of them supposed to be so intelligent and so smart. And that's the problem right now. We're talking about destroying the system, and they have hangups about doing that because they're constantly buying property within the system. And it's kind of hard to burn up on Tuesday what you bought last Monday, because they're a bunch of unrepentant capitalists. They'll never repent, and they know better. We try to make excuses for them. Maybe they'll have to go through stages, Fred. No, that's not it, because they're much older than we are. I'm 21. We're all young. So stages, they didn't went through them. Ron Karanga has more degrees than a thermometer. That's right. He has more degrees than a thermometer, and he continues to do what he's doing. And how do they fool you? Because they pick the leaders they want. And they put those people up there and portray them as being your leaders, when in fact, they're leaders of nobody. We call the oppressed apologists, because after something's happened, all they can do is apologize for it. Look in the papers. Now they're drawing pictures of the chairman chained and gagged. Don't you know that if the news media, the established press, had moved before this, that they could have stopped this rising tide of fascism years ago? But they endorsed, they joined, they supported what fascists were doing at that time. And now it's being heaped down upon all of the people. And a lot of people think now that their hands are getting dirty, we call them ideological servants of the United States fascism. And that's what they are, because they serve fascism by doing nothing about it until the law goes over, and then they apologize for it. They get apologetic. But we say it's the same press that will look at and believe and think is bona fide. The same press that talked us into believing that we're somebody when in fact we're nobody. I don't think there's anything more important. I think that what Malcolm says is important. Now think back. Those students were laughing at Malcolm. Can you dig it? They were laughing at Malcolm. Why? Regis Debray, he says, the revolutionaries are in the future. The militants and pork chops and all these people, radical students, are in the present, and that most of the rest of the people try to remain in the past. That's why when somebody comes that's in the future of a lot of us. That's why when somebody comes that's in the future, a lot of us can't understand them. And the same thing that you don't understand. God damn it. And the same thing you don't understand about Huey P. Newton now. You didn't understand Malcolm when he was living, but we know that when Malcolm left, the well almost ran dry. You don't miss the water till the well runs dry, and it almost ran dry. Huey P. Newton got to reading, and he's not like a lot of us. A lot of us read and read and read, but we don't get any practice. We have a lot of knowledge in our heads, but we've never practiced it and made any mistakes and corrected those mistakes so that we will be able to do something properly. So we come up with, we say, more degrees than a thermometer. But we're not able to walk across the street and chew gum at the same time because we have all that knowledge, but it's never been exercised. It's never been practiced. We never tested it with what's really happening. We call it testing it with objective reality. You might have any kind of thought in your mind, but you've got to test it with what's out there. You see what I mean? They talked us into buying candy bars and throwing the candy away and eating the wrapper. They're the only people in the world, you understand, that can sell ice boxes to Eskimos. They can sell natural wigs to black people that's got natural hair already. And see, this is a shame. They can sell a one-legged man 24 tickets in an ass-kicking contest, and he knows he has no business being there. See, these are the things that they can do to us. And when they have us believe that what they're telling us is right, it's bona fide, it's justified, we say that's wrong, that's incorrect. That Malcolm, when he spoke to students, and you probably heard that record, he speaks to some Jews, some slick people, and he told them, you might say, well, the way I feel, people ought to be able to walk around naked because rape is love. That's idealism. See what I mean? You're dealing in metaphysics. You're dealing in subjectivity. because you're not testing it with objective reality. And what's really wrong is that you don't go and test it, because if you did test it, you'll get objective. Because as soon as you walk out there, a whole lot of objective reality will vamp down upon your ass and rape you of whatever you have. So whenever this happens, this is when people get a whole lot of mistaken ideas. That's why a lot of you can't understand and can't agree with a lot of what we said. You've never tried it. You don't know whether people relate to the breakfast program because you've never fed anybody. You don't know anything about the free health clinic because you never asked anybody. You don't know anything about the good that a gun does you because you never tried one. And we say that if you were born and if you said you didn't like pears and you never tasted pears, you'd have to be a liar. You don't know whether you like pears, but you can't claim that you don't like pears. The only way that anybody can tell you the taste of a pear is if he himself has tasted it. That's the only way. That's the objective reality. That's what the Black Panther Party deals with. We're not metaphysicians. We're not idealists. We're dialectical materialists, and we deal with what reality is, whether we like it or not. A lot of people can't relate to that because everything they do is gagged by the way they like things to be. We say that's incorrect. You look and see how things are, and then you deal with that. We're running around talking about we're going to love all Black people. We have an undying love for all Black people. And you know what? That if Malcolm came back, he'd walk past 1 million Klansmen to get to Stokely and whoop his motherfucking ass. Because Malcolm was standing right like this in a room where white people weren't even allowed. You hear me? They weren't even allowed in the room. But Malcolm is dead. Now, what happened? What did that fool's name, James Whitmore? Didn't he do his little skin? Because they had names with 37X, 15X, blacker than black, and they were able to sneak in because of this ignorant potion number 9 that these maniacs are trying to whoop on us. We're going to love all Black people because every Negro is a potential Black man. The man that testified against Chairman Bobby in the conspiracy trial down in Chicago was a Black man. Then the man that has Chairman Bobby on murder trial in Connecticut is a Black man. The man who murdered Malcolm X is a Black man. The judge that denied Eldridge Cleaver bond after a white man had granted him bond, a man who investigated on his own and said, I don't think you ought to be on the street, was a Black man, Thurgood Marshall, Thurgood No Good Marshall, that the NAACP put in. That's one of the things about sitting and dying sitting in and dying in and waiting in and crying in has got us. If Thurgood Marshall hadn't been there, then Eldridge Cleaver would probably still be here with the people. He's a bootlicker, a tonto, a jackanapes, you understand? Going in, I don't think you should be able to be on the streets. We were running around letting people tell us we got to love all Black people. You heard about the conspiracy trial on the West Side that they were able to win with Doug Andrews and Fat Crawford. When they had the big burn on the West Side in the Martin Luther King riot, ask them, brothers, what's wrong with you? Brothers and sisters, ask them, was that a white man? No, because Doug and them, they criticized us for our liberal stand. They call it liberal. So they let nobody in their hood but Black people. But they didn't know. Anybody ever heard about Gloves on the south side of Chicago? He's not white. Gloves Davis was later on one of the Chicago policemen that participated in Fred's assassination. And if you recall correctly, we're reading Fred Hampton's speech here. Did you think Buckney was white? Buckney, who's taking all of your brothers and all of your little sisters and all of your little cousins and nephews, and he's going to continue to take them. And if you don't do anything, he's going to take your sons and your daughters. And a lot of people is going to school now trying to make a name. We don't hear no running around talking about I'm Benedict Arnold III, because Benedict Arnold's children don't want to talk about the fact that they're his children. Do you hear people talking about they might be Patrick Henry's children, People that stood up and said, give me liberty or give me death, or Paul Revere's cousin. Revere said, get your guns, the British are coming. The British were the police. Huey said, get your guns, the pigs are coming. The same thing. There'll be a lot of Huey Newtons running around. A lot of your kids will be calling themselves Huey P. Newton III. They won't be calling themselves Ooga Booga or Karanga Tan Karanga or Mama Llama Karanga, none of that shit. They won't be calling themselves that. You see, ask the pigs in California. Ask them. You see that? Hand me one of them posters, brother. The one right there. Now, if you think I'm lying, look at this. Take a look at this. Now, all you sisters here, tell me what looks better. A man running around in a robe and a staff pole looking like Moses, or these badass looking, you might say you're chauvinistic, organizational, chauvinistic, you might call it. You might call me wrapped up in the party's own ego, but I'm wrapped up in the truth. And I think the sister can verify that these are the baddest. These are the movie stars for Babylon, god damn it. Fuck John Wayne and all this other shit. All right. But you see, if you look at that, that's what we look good at. We don't care if anybody's wearing a dashiki. You understand? That's not going to mean anything in the final analysis. But we're saying that you need some tools. You ever had the occasion to have a doctor come to your house or a plumber come to your house? Suppose a plumber came to your house, you opened up his bag and he had stethoscopes and thermometers and hypodermic needles and syringes and said, and you say, you came here to fix the plumbing. Brother, you got the wrong tools. Something suspicious is going on because you don't even have the proper tools. Ain't that right? Suppose somebody came to deliver your baby and he had plumber's tools. You know, sisters would scream bloody murder. No, but you'd say, this is not right. We can't have this. You got to understand. You got a little easier. You got to show me something better. You got to have some tools that are more appropriate for the occasion to understand, because I don't have any runny faucets or anything. So when people came into our community with tanks, when they came into Babylon or Warsaw or whatever you want to call it, like they did in Henry Horner projects, and that's a manifestation of, a very clear manifestation of what's happening in Babylon. When they do that, when they come in there with tanks, and those tanks are tools, those tanks are tools of war. They're declaring war on the community. And if you, when they come into the community with tanks, you come out with a dashiki and nothing but dashikis, boo-boos, nothing but boo-boos, sandals and nothing but sandals, then you're in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people. You better go back in the house. If you have to strip butt naked, if you got to get asshole naked, put you on, even if it ain't nothing but a holster and a gun and some ammunition, take your bare ass, you understand? And they won't consider you being naked. Nobody will try, you understand? Nobody's going to whistle at you or anything, because this will be gone from the minute. Any kind of sexual attraction you had will be gone, because they'll be looking at Mr. and Mrs. Colt 45, Mr. and Mrs. 357 Magnum, and the shapes on them are the best shapes we have in Babylon to deal with. And your brother's holding a 357 Magnum in your hand. There's nothing that feels like a 357 Magnum except one of these beautiful black sisters. But we need them 357 Magnum also. When we go out there, we'll be able to protect ourselves. Huey P. Newton issued a mandate a long time ago. It was executive mandate number 3. It said we need to draw the line of demarcation. And when pigs move on our cribs, we have to protect our crib with gun force. Pigs don't move on Panther cribs. When they move on Panther cribs, they make sure the Panther's out of town. We had a situation where they moved on a Panther crib and they had 3 helicopters flying above it. I'm serious. I'm serious. See, they come prepared because they know when they're coming to a Panther's crib, they might talk a lot of rhetoric, but we deal with the same basic jargon that the people in Babylon deal with. It takes 2 to tango, motherfucker. As soon as you kick that door down, I have to kick it back to you. We don't lock our doors. We just get us some good guns and leave them motherfuckers open. And when people come in there, we put something on them that will make them go to the hardware, buy a lock, come back, pull the door closed, lock it, and stay outside. We're going to move as quickly as we possibly can for the people with the questions and answers, and the people with the guilt syndrome, and the people that have been embarrassed and shamed and disgraced. And we talked about their leaders like Leroy Jones and Karanga, a big bald-headed bazoomy as far as we're concerned. That's what he is. And we think that if he's going to continue to wear dashikis, that he ought to stop wearing pants, because he looks a lot better in mini skirts. That's all a motherfucking man in Babylon needs in Babylon that doesn't have a gun is a mini skirt. And maybe he can trick his way out of something. Sorry, I just got a message. Maybe he can trick his way out of something, because he's not going to shoot his way out of nothing. He won't fight temptation, but he never killed anybody. But the Black Panther member, he never killed anybody but the Black Panther member. Sorry, guys. Name somebody. Name a time you read about Karangatang's office being attacked. The only time he ever had the occasion to use a gun was on Prentice Bunchy Carter, a revolutionary. This brother had more revolutionary poetry for a motherfucker than anybody. Revolutionary culture. John Huggins. The only time they lifted a gun was against these people. As Huey says in prison, when they lifted their hands against Bunchy, and when they lifted their hands against John, they lifted their hands against the best that Babylon possesses. And you should say that. You should feel any time when revolutionary brothers die. You never heard about the party going around murdering people. You dig what I'm saying? Think about it. I'm not even going to tell you. You think about it for yourself. We started the Black Panther Party in 1966, but I'm going to tell you the whole story in a minute. We started dealing with pigs. You think we scared of a few orangutans, a few chumps, a few male chauvinists? They tell their women, walk behind me. The only reason a woman should walk... Oh, God. The only reason a woman should walk behind a fag like that is so she can put his foot knee-deep in his ass. Anyway, I'm going to stop here for a second and just say that this is a little bit antithetical to what we were talking about today, but we're going to continue. We don't need no culture except revolutionary culture. What we mean by that is a culture that will feed you. You heard your field lieutenant talking about a fire in the room, didn't you? What you worry about when you got a fire in a room, you worry about water or escape. You don't worry about anything else. If you say, what is your culture during this fire? Water. That's my culture, brother. That's my culture. Because culture is a thing that keeps you. What's your politics during this fire? Escape and water. What is your education during this fire? Escape and water. When people ask us about our culture, we say our culture is guns. Our culture is revolutionary art. Like that. And when you see those two brothers who picked up them guns and went out into Babylon in 66, when a lot of us were scared to do anything except lock ourselves up in a closet and listen to Coltrane, ain't that something for whooping a motherfucker's ass? And this turned us on, and this made us black enough that we were bad. Then this made us black enough to get out and launch a blanket indictment at the murder mouth and rest of the black people. You ain't got nothing natural. How come your name isn't changed? Ask the pigs in California. Ask them, who do you fear most? Ron Karanga or Huey P. Newton? Who was named after a demagogic lion politician? Huey P. Long? And pigs don't care about that because you don't have to call. If your shotgun's a Browning, you don't have to give it no African name because believe me, it shoots the same. You understand? That shoots the same. Changing your name is not going to change our set of arrangements. The only thing that's going to change our set of arrangements is what's gotten us into this set of arrangements, and that's the oppressor. And it's on 3 stages. We call it the 3-in-1. Avaricious, greedy businessmen, demagogic lion politicians, and racist, pig fascist, reactionary cops. Until you deal with those 3 things, then your set of arrangements will remain the same. The only difference will be that you're still under fascism. But instead of Fred being under fascism, I'll be Ooga Booga under fascism. But I'll feel the same. Instead of me going to the gas chamber, I'll go to an African section of the gas chamber. We're so Africanized over here that if Africans came over here, you'd have to give them a catalog to find out what the fuck they were buying. That's right. You'd have to give them a catalog to find out what the fuck they were buying. You got posters and pictures and names. We're naming things and naming ourselves names they never even heard of. And we call ourselves Africanized. And ain't that something? You understand? If you're racist, let me tell you something. Or if you're a reactionary nationalist, white folks run it. Go to South Africa and ask them. Go ahead. If you want an example of cultural nationalism, the best one I can give you is Papa Doc Duvalier. In Haiti, all the black people, we need some blackness. Papa Doc Duvalier said, right on, we need some blackness. Let's get all the white folks out of here. Get all the white folks out, and now he starts oppressing all the black folks. When the black folks complain about it, he says, well, goddamn, what are you complaining about now? I'm black. I can't do nothing wrong. We already qualified that. That's why these apologists like Wesley South come on the air and direct that sophistry that the sister was talking about their ballyhooing, really just rapping about nothing because they're jackanapes in our community, allowed to remain there only because of their skin complexion. And we ought to drive them out. Think about it. You've got Bobby Seale chained and gagged at the Federal Building. You've got James and Michael Soto, who was murdered in 2 days. By the way, for all you white folks who claim you're radicals, and claim you're going to support the party, we move in and we're saying that there's no higher Marxist than Huey P. Newton, not Chairman Mao Zedong or anybody else. We're saying that unless people show us through their social practice that they relate to the struggle in Babylon, that means that they're not internationalists. That means that they're not revolutionaries, truly Marxist-Leninist revolutionaries. We look at Kim Il-sung. We look at Comrade, the Marshal Kim Il-sung of Korea, as towering far and high above in his social practice as Mao Zedong. If you could relate to that, cool. If you can't relate to that, walk out with your ass picked clean like chicken stew. You dig? If you can't relate to that, and we're telling you that, and you motherfuckers who think you're so radical that you're trying to radicalize everyone in Washington, and I don't know what the fuck you could radicalize because you ain't going to do nothing but walk between the bodies of 2 dead men, Lincoln and Washington. And I know you're not going to sit out and gain no redress. And there's just as much chance for Nixon giving you some redress. If you can't get 200,000 people to march on Washington for something that's in Vietnam, why the fuck can't you get 200,000 people to come to Jackson and Dearborn, the Federal Building, and march for the chairman of Babylon? The man who did more for Babylon and more for Vietnam than you marching maniacs will ever do. Because you're not doing nothing for nobody but Florsheems and Stetsons or Stacey Adams and anybody else. Because you're going to wear your souls out of your metaphysical souls and the souls out of your shoes. And we say, if you can't relate to that, then fuck you. Because our line's been consistent. We know the Marxist-Leninists, people who might not want to dig on it. They say Marxist-Leninists, they don't curse. This is something we got from slave masters. We know that black people invented the word motherfucker. We wasn't fucking nobody's mother. It was the master fucking people's mothers. We invented the word, you dig? We relate to that. We Marxist-Leninists, and we some cussing Marxist-Leninists, and we ain't gonna continue, and we're gonna continue to cuss. God damn it. Sorry, I missed where I'm at. Because that's what we relate to. That's what's happening in Babylon. That's objective reality. Don't nobody be walking around in Babylon spouting out at the mouth about a whole lot of academic bullshit, intellectually masturbating, catching diarrhea of the mouth. We say to those motherfuckers, if you want to catch a mouth disease, you come and talk that shit in a community where the Panthers are at, and you'll get a mouth disease, all right. You're going to get a hoof in the mouth. Panther hoof and mouth. So if you radicals can't relate to that, then fuck you, because we know what Chairman Bobby did for the struggle. And we know that, almost done, guys, I apologize. And we know that the people in Vietnam, they know that piece, just like Huey P. Newton tells about our motto, that we are the advocates. Hey, Rob, you got to mute, or somebody, I don't know who it is. Just feedback. There we go. Thank you. And we know the people in Vietnam, they know that piece, just like Huey P. Newton tells about our motto, that we are the advocates of the abolition of war. We do not want war, but we understand that war can only be abolished through war. That in order to put down the gun, make a man get rid of the gun, it's necessary to pick up a gun. And you motherfuckers, that's for peace in Vietnam. The Black Panther Party is for victory in Vietnam. We say that they're the aggressors. They're a bunch of lackey running dogs, that they're imperialists. They're a bunch of Wall Street mongers, warmongers, and they need to be driven out of there. And the only way that the liberation of the oppressed people of Vietnam or the oppressed people of Babylon, that they can win their freedom, it has to be founded on the land that is fertilized by the bones and blood of these aggressive pig dogs that come into our communities and occupy our communities like troops, occupy a foreign territory, and go into Vietnam and fight and struggle relentlessly against the people in Vietnam to have a right to self-determination. We don't care whether anybody likes it or not. That's our line. It's a Marxist-Leninist line. It's consistent. It's going to remain that way, and it's been that way. If you can't get 200,000 people to come see about Bobby, then we say that you're a counter-revolutionary. That when what you're doing is you're taking some kind of route from DeKalb where you're going to get to Vietnam without even passing the Henry Horner projects on the west side of Chicago. That's impossible. You think Vietnam is bad? Check the laws. In Vietnam, if you lose one son, they allow you to keep the other one. They say, here, mother, hold him tight. He can stay at home. You understand? If you have two in there and one dies, they'll ship him back. They'll ship him back and get him out of the war where there'll be no chance of him dying. Because, miss, this war is not going to take both of your sons. And then you're marching on this cruel war in Washington, all you radicals. And what about Miss Soto, who lost two sons in 1 week? That proves to us through historical fact that Babylon is worse than Vietnam. We need to have some moratoriums on the Black community in Babylon and all oppressed communities in Babylon. And Charles Jackson from Aldgate Gardens, last week a 14-year-old boy throwing rocks, the pigs told him to halt and the motherfucker shot and murdered him. Murdered him cold blood. And then you motherfuckers got the nerve to go tramping off to Washington, marching between two dead motherfuckers. The Panther Party is going to criticize you. We are going to criticize you out in the open because we believe in mass revolutionary criticism. We're going to tell you that you're wrong because we done had a lot of criticism leveled at us for fucking around with you. You will either be part of the problem or you're going to be a part of the solution. And if we find out that you're part of the problem, we're going to start turning the guns on you crazy motherfuckers. We're going to have some questions and answers. We're going to do one thing too. And this is another thing out of sight to show. The people where we come from Babylon. The Black Panther parties the Black Panther parties ran solely by Black people. If you get a chance, I don't think it's going to be this Sunday, but we tape this Sunday and shown next Sunday. I'm almost sure it's going to be taped this Sunday and shown next Sunday. There'll be a big roundtable discussion that's going to be on for Blacks only. Any of you can check the thing and see what it is. And either myself or Shaka will be there. We'll be presenting the Black Panther Party. And if you get a chance, why don't you look at it? If you want to do something for me, we'd like to do something for Chairman Bobby. If you just clap your hands for me, this is what we call, you don't have to clap too loud, this is what we call the People's Beat. It's a beat that was started in 1966 by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. It's a beat that never stops because it's the beat they got because they knew it couldn't be stopped. It's the beat that manifested in you, the people. Chairman Bobby Seale says that as long as there's Black people, there will always be the Black Panther Party. But they never can stop the party unless they stop the beat. As long as you manifest the beat, we can never be stopped. You think the beat is dangerous? We know it's dangerous because when the beat started out in the West Coast, the chief pig out there, mafioso Aliotto, said to the rest of his people that helped him with his fascism out there, he said, listen to those people beat. Hey, they're beating much too fast. Why don't they go back home where they belong? When that beat started last November, a year ago in Chicago, Illinois, at 2350 West Madison, when me and Shaka and Bobby Rush and Che and some more brothers and Jewel got together and said, we're going to start a Black Panther party right here because this is part of Babylon. The party exists right here too. That we might be in school now, might think we're on the mountaintop, where we're going to come down to the valley because people in the valley, commitments in the valley, oppressions in the valley, aggression, repression, fascism, all exist in the valley. No matter how nice it might be on the mountaintop, God damn it. Where was it? No matter how nice it might be on the mountaintop, we've got a commitment. So we're going back. We got to go back to the valley. And when we did that, even Daley, Hannaran, and Judge, we call him Adolf Hitler Hoffman, the chief fascist who knows the art of tapista, the art that Mussolini was supposed to have mastered. We say that Hoffman is better at the art of tapista than Mussolini ever was, because we know what the art of tapista is. It's an art of good timing. And when we started that beat, Judge Hoffman and Mayor Daley and Hammerhead Hannaran said, hey, listen to the people. It's Chicago's beat. Politically, they are even beating much too fast. Why don't they go back home? To live with all Black people where they belong, to live in dashikis and boo-boos, and to be pork chop nationalists and cultural nationalists. Why don't they go back home to thinking what you're wearing is going to change you? Why don't they go back to political power flows from the sleeve of a dashiki? And we said, no, as long as that beat continues, we continue, because it gives us in the party a type of intoxication that it lets us understand we're so revolutionary, proletarian, intoxicated that we cannot be astronomically intimidated. Don't worry about the Black Panther Party. As long as you keep the beat, we'll keep on going. If you think that we could be wiped out because they murdered Bobby Hutton and Apprentice Bunchy Carter and John Huggins, you're wrong. If you think that because Huey was jailed, that the party's going to stop, you see, you're wrong. If you think because Chairman Bobby was jailed, the party's going to stop, you see, you're wrong. If you think because they can jail me, you thought the party was going to stop, you thought wrong. Because they can rage Eldridge Cleaver out of the country, you're wrong. Because we said it before we left, and we said it today. You can jail a revolutionary, but you can't jail the revolution. You can lock up a freedom fighter like Huey P. Newton, but you can't lock up freedom fighting. You might hire some pork chops like Mama Lam to murder Al Prentice Bunchy Carter, a liberator, but you can't murder liberation, because if you do, you come up with answers that don't answer, explanations that don't explain, conclusions that don't conclude. We say that if you dare to struggle, then you dare to win. If you dare not to struggle, then you don't deserve to win. We wouldn't go into the ring with Muhammad Ali and not fight and wonder why we lost. Would we? If you don't fight, then you don't deserve to win. If you don't move on these fascists, then you're crazy. We say it's no longer a question of violence or nonviolence. We say it's a question of resistance to fascism or non-existence within fascism. We say, let's stop the war in Vietnam. Let's stop it by acquiring victory for the spirit of Ho Chi Minh. We say, let's stop the war in Babylon. Let's initiate the decentralization of the police. The only real thing is the people, because pigs bite the hand that feeds them, and they need to be slapped. And like Shaka said, when you catch them in your house, hit them with anything. You shouldn't argue about whether to hit them with a chair or a table, because they're out of order from the street. We say that the oppressor fuck Judge Taney. The oppressor has no rights which we, the oppressed, are bound to follow. If you get a chance, come see about Bobby. You ought to come see about Bobby because Bobby came and saw about you. You ought to come see about Bobby because in 1966, when we didn't even think we were important enough to protect ourselves, Bobby and Huey got their guns and went out into the community. They left college. They were pre-engineer students. That was Bobby and Huey. Huey was a pre-law student. And what they read, they put into practice. You ought to come see about Bobby because Bobby came and saw about you. I'm going to see about Bobby. And if you have anything to say, you'll come and see him too. Come down to Jackson and Dearborn and see about our chairman because he's the chairman of Babylon. He's the father and founder of the breakfast programs and the free health clinics. And there's nothing wrong, nothing in the world wrong with that. All power to the people. Northern Illinois' power to the people that go here to Northern Illinois University. We say that we need some guns. There's nothing wrong with guns in our community. There's just been a misdistribution of guns in our community for one reason or another. The pigs have all the guns. So all we have to do is equally distribute them. So if you see one that has a gun and you don't have one, then when you leave, you should have one. That way we'll be able to deal with things right. I remember looking at TV and I found that not only did the pigs not brutalize the people in Western days, they had to hire bounty hunters to go arrest them. They shoot somebody with no intention of arresting them. We need some guns. We need some guns. We need some force. Thank you. I'm going to call Shaka and Sister Joan back up here to deal with any questions that you want answered because we have plenty of time to spend. We don't have any time to waste, as the sister said. Time is short. Let's seize the time. Thank you. So I apologize for the lengthy speech. It's several pages long. So quickly, because we're running out of time, brief discussion on that, even though we could talk for hours about it. Floor is open.
Well, I think you can see the difference between 1969 and 1970 in like where you make a comment about Ron Karanga should wear a mini skirt or
Yeah.
you know that like I said, prior to the Stonewall, people didn't have much respect for gay people or trans people.
Yeah.
And that was something that came out of the blue. Nobody expected it to happen, and then everybody had to deal with it.
I got you. Is there anything else? And then, you know, this speech roughly, you know, it touches on a lot of different things, especially with what, you know, we were talking about today. Everything from, you know, the difference in Panther organizations from, you know, there's cultural nationalists, there's separatists, there's, you know, there's anti-LGBTQ strains, all these different things. And, you know, Chairman Fred is hitting on all that in this. So the floor is open still.
I think it's interesting that, again, that you're talking about what you're talking about, because I literally just saved a draft on my TikTok because I'm also from Connecticut, like the most gun law strict state in the United States, right? And, or one of anyway. And I've been at Lives rallies in 2018. I am a single mother. I'm terrified for my child, and we are in this weird, not weird space, I guess it's the wrong word, but we're in this space right now where like we feel the need to protect ourselves, and we feel the need, I mean, I'm sure plenty of people have felt that need for a very long time, but me specifically being a white woman that was at March for Our Lives rally in 2018 that has been very confused about what gun laws should be, considering of where I grew up. And now I think that I need a pistol permit. Like if I don't have one, I feel like I'm ineffective, to be completely honest. And that's just, it's pretty mind blowing to me in the state that we're in. And the police is just a whole nother topic that we can obviously get into for hours and hours. So I won't get into that right now.
Yeah, you know, the firearm is a tool. You know, if we didn't have firearms, we'd have swords, right? I mean, people will literally use whatever people have killed people with tables, chairs. Shit that you wouldn't even think something you could kill somebody with. People have killed somebody with. It's all tools. What matters here is the intention and social organization. Okay. If you flood a community with guns and there's no social organization there, what do you think you're going to get? You're either going to get one or two things. You're going to get a whole lot of armed people who, keep to themselves more or less. And then every once in a while, a sporadic violence that happens, or you're going to put it into a community where there's already existing organizations, but they're not sided with the people in any particular way. They're kind of self-interested, and they're going to feud with each other, and that's what you see with gang violence. If gangs had more of a revolutionary consciousness to them, you wouldn't see this kind of violence. At least you wouldn't see as much of it. And the other thing that you'd see is in not just sporadic violence in both of these communities, but you'd see a whole lot of police violence, right? And you already see that. And this country has more guns than any other country. We are armed to the hilt with weapons, right? And what do you get? You get more police violence than any other country in the world, and it's not a surprise, And I am a complete advocate of firearms, but I'm also an advocate of social organization. We need to have that. We have to have people's organization on the ground in these communities. Without that, these people are operating blindly. They're no better they're not conscious in the sense, but they're comparable to adventurous organizations of the past, like the Weathermen. Like we talked about last week, the Weathermen had a bombing campaign. I believed it was justified to open into an open conflict with the U.S. government, right? And they weren't ready for that. Nobody was ready for that at the time, right? But without organizations leading the masses contributing to that organization, you just get all this violence, So you need to have both of those things. The floor is still open to anybody who wants to talk.
Yeah, this Chairman Shaka, I want to first appreciate you for this study. And second, I didn't hear that Fred Hampton speech in some years. I thought it was right on the money where we at politically and culturally across the country. But I would recommend that we pass that pamphlet out in written form, put it in our newspapers, so that way young comrades can read and see what Fred is about. Because there is misrepresentation of him and all other Panthers. So first, I just wanted to appreciate you for that study, Jake. Second, I have to go. We got the Rainbow Coalition at 7:00, and I need to prepare for that. Thank you for this class, and all power to the people.
All power, Chairman. So we're getting close to the end point here, but we got a little bit more time for discussion if anybody has anything to say. All right, we're going to close out for the day. So thank you all for attending. We UPM classes week on Saturdays. Have book readings on Wednesday. They're reading George Jackson, Blood in My Eye, probably about 32 pages in so far. So if that's interesting to you, you can always attend that, anybody here. But where we do UPM classes every Saturday around 3:00 Central Time. So all right. All power to the people. Thank you all for attending. Hope you all have a good night.
Pants love, y'all.
sold the devil guns. Didn't matter when they bleed us dry. Didn't matter when they stole your mother's sons. Now everyone's out of their mind. That bullshit, these unemployment lines. Don't know the cash goes to the corporate crimes. To the revolution, what is told, no peace of mind. You live on the matter, and the one who's falling better than your grandkids here to joy. When you watch them, their reaction to every little inconvenient soul. Still the public is anamorphous, threat to the status quo.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents. Just don't worry about it. Learn how to use what